through requiring content creators and channel owners to specifically designate whether they are directed to children. And as the chairman noted, not only can we sue Google and YouTube for compliance with Coppa, but also individual channel owners and content creators. And once this order has been fully implemented, we intend to conduct a sweep of the YouTube platform to determine whether there remains child-directed content on the platform with respect to which personally identifiable information continues to be collected.
There's just a big problem with that, and I'll get into it in this video. Hello everybody, TheRatMan here, and this video is here to explain, one, why I am not a kid-directed channel, but primarily, why Coppa is an outdated piece of legislation that the FTC should not be using as the basis for further sweeps of websites, and especially of content creators on websites such as YouTube. I do not normally ask this of people, but I implore you all, do not let videos like this, do not let this video, or any other video like it, talking about this nonsense, die off in obscurity, alright? Spread the word around. You interact with the videos. Hit the like button will do that, commenting will do that. I think even subscribing on the video will do that. I think I've seen statistics of like what videos have netted me subscribers, so I think that counts for video engagement as well. That all feeds into the algorithm, gets it recommended to more and more people, and spreads the word further and further and further. And also just share it. Share it all over social media, whatever social medias you have. I personally don't have any social medias, but whatever social medias you have, from Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, anything. Spread it around. Let it be known. Let this stuff be known. You can't let the FTC just do this, because this is some destructive legislation, especially if they actively enforce it against every commercial YouTuber that is out there. Now, what is the problem here? For anyone who doesn't know, back in 1998, a bill was signed into law under Bill Clinton, known as the Child's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. COPPA, I say COPPA, because it's two P's. And the whole point of this was that, earlier that decade, there was a website called, I believe it was called kidscom.com. Yeah. The website, it was basically like an early version of a kids social media thing, right? But, very 90s. So, yeah, I think you can imagine what that looks like. Radical. Oh, good lord. But, essentially, it was found out that Kidscom was secretly taking the information of their user base, which was, well, children, and because the name Kidscom, that was seen as a big no-no. So this bill was created to ensure that websites are not allowed to collect data on children under 13, which is also why all of us get that those things on websites that say, click here to confirm you are 13 or older, or if you had to make an account, you're not allowed to make one that would put your age at below 13, That's why a bunch of us had to create birthdays that were in the 50s or something, or just like 1901. This bill is the reason that those protections existed. But now, the FTC is looking to enforce it even further. They're looking to broaden the terms, if you will. Why and how? Well, recently they went off and sued YouTube for numerous website-wide violations of Coppa. Primarily because YouTube was not actively shutting down or basically just putting the hammer down on channels that were actively going after children and still had personalized ads. Specifically personalized ads, because personalized ads are the ones that give you advertisements based off of your personal data that they collect. As such, kids getting personalized ads is not a good thing because that implies the kid's personal data is being, collected, and in turn that this bill is being circumvented essentially. So the FTC sued YouTube and in turn Google for this violation, or these numerous violations, and Google, being Google, settled with them. They settled and gave them $170 million. And what they essentially are doing is trying to buy their way out of legal liability for violations of Coppa, even though they're the ones that run the website. Instead, they effectively said, "We'll give you the $170 million, but any further legal liability will go to the content creators, the individual people on our website." That's what that's basically what they're trying to do, so that they don't get sued again, because YouTube runs at a permanent loss essentially. It is inherent. There is no profit to be made off of them running YouTube. I'm sorry if you heard that. Dogs are barking. I don't think you did though, but oh well. Um, so yeah, that's essentially what this bill was made to create. Um, Now I get the idea. I'll get into this in a moment. I get the idea of what they were trying to do. I get it. It's chil- the personal information of children is a very private thing. Is not public information that should just be easily acquired by anybody. If if anyone needs if anyone is to acquire that information, it is with parental consent. Um, it's actually why whenever we get news stories about criminal cases involving minors, it's why the minors' information and personal details like their name and whatnot is never revealed to the public because they're minor. And as such, that information is not public, or at least it shouldn't be. Um, and so I get the idea. I get the idea. Children shouldn't be getting personalized ads and whatnot. Uh, But the FTC is going about this in the worst way possible and in the most destructive way possible, because this right here are the instructions regarding how they determine whether something is kid-directed or not. What this means is that the way they intended to enforce this is that they take teams they take survey teams, give them a bunch of URLs for websites, have them examine the content of those URLs and determine whether they fit into whether anything on them fit into these categories um, to count as kid friendly, and then the law would be enforced accordingly. Now here's where things get interesting. The criteria for what counts as kid friendly on their survey form: subject matter. Subject matter that is appealing to children, e.g. kids' jokes, no definitions to what that means, music, the entirety of music, kids' games, again, no idea what there's no definition what that means, video/computer games, just the entire thing, children's TV shows or stars, okay, I get it, cartoon characters, oh yeah, Rick and Morty's totally kid-friendly, sports, no definition, stories, no definition, toys, children's books, fantasy, no definition, children's arts and crafts, sure, pets, no definition, products primarily purchased or consumed by kids like snack food or cereal. Looking at this, I think this essentially encompasses any form of entertainment. Any form of entertainment. Like, really, even like my stuff, like video/computer games. So just because I have a video game on screen means it's kid directed. Let me show you why that's not right. Let me show you why that's wrong. City Skylines is a city management simulator. Darkest Dungeon, absolutely not meant for kids. I, I get this isn't necessarily designed to not be for kids, but most kids would not be able to understand City Skylines. Darkest Dungeon, not for kids at all. Destiny 2, not for kids. Divinity Original Sin 2, not for kids. Dungreed, feasibly appealing to a kid, maybe, but again, this was also made for like a more older, nostalgic audience who remember, the older days of video games. Dust and Elysian Tale, feasibly for like teenagers, but not small children, 13 and under, not 13 under. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, not for kids. Endless Space 2, not for kids. Europa Universalis 4, not for kids. Gary's Mod, not necessarily for kids, even though a lot of kids like to go on there. It's not meant for them. Half-Life 2, not for kids. Imperator Rome, not a kids game. Left 4 Dead 2, not a kids game. Lethal League, not a kids game. Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, they're management simulators. I don't think children are going to find management simulators fun. Pyre, not a kids game. Risk of Rain 2, not a kids game. Sentinels of the Multiverse, not necessarily a kids game. I can personally I can see why a kid might like that one, but at the same time it's still not explicitly designed for them. Civilization 6, not a kids game. Tabletop Simulator. You play tabletop games, so that varies depending on the game that you're playing in it. Tales of Berseria, not for kids. Team Fortress 2, not for kids. Tropico 6, not for kids. 2 Point Hospital, again, management simulator. Not directly against kids, but also not directly for them either. Warframe, not for kids. What else? No, get that out of here. Guild Wars 2, not for kids. Let's check my Xbox Game Pass. Age of Empires 2, neutral at best. Bad North, neutral at best. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, not a kid's game. Creature in the Well, not a kid's game. Space Hulk, not a kid's game. SteamWorld Dig 2, neutral at best. The Outer Worlds, not a kid's game. Unavowed, not a kid's game. Void Bastards, not a kid's game. Let me just do it one more time to see if I can really, really get it in the head there. Ash of God's Redemption, not a kid's game. Darksiders, not a kid's game. Enter the Gungeon, neutral at best. Everspace, not a kid's game. Gemini Rue, not a kid's game. Hotline Miami, absolutely not a kid's game. Ugh. Into the Breach, not a kid's game. Irony Curtain, not a kid's game. Just because it's cartoony doesn't mean it's for kids. Oklos, not a kid's game. Shadow Tactics, not a kid's game. Stellaris, not a kid's game. Strafe, not a kid's game. Torchlight 2, not a kid's game. 13, not a kid's game. I think you get the idea. There are a ton. The video game industry is wildly different now from what it was 20 years ago. Games are not explicitly a children-oriented product anymore, especially video games. Video games can vary wildly in their intended audience. And it doesn't even, and when I mean not a kid's game, I mean games that aren't pandering towards children. Just because a game might possibly maybe somehow appeal to a child does not mean it is designed for them. It does not mean it is subject matter that is meant for children. It is absurd that this has never been changed since 1998. Let's see what else we got here. Language of the website, such as language that is simple enough to be understandable to children 12 and under. Short, colorful descriptions, slang, and pop culture phrases. A kid's site may be identified by such language as kids only, fun, free stuff, whatever, cool, duh. Games, ask your parents. You can tell this was written by old people in the 90s. When words like duh are considered kids-only slang terms. No, not at all. No. The concept of fun is not a kids-only thing. Whatever is not a kids-only term. This stuff is ridiculous. Games are not kids-only. This is insane. Even for 1998, this is insane. Consider 1998, Mortal Kombat came out in 1992. Mortal Kombat. We had, And Mortal Kombat was the reason the ESRB was created in the first place, to rate video games on whether they're suitable for children or not. We've had the, even in 1998, America already had this discussion, and already had this whole nationwide debate about video games not being inherently meant for children, with the fact that you can play a game, an arcade game, where you can rip a dude's head off and have his spine dangling from his neck. Yeah, clearly, video games are not inherently children-oriented. I think that's obvious at this point. And especially now in the modern industry, there is a wide array of people who play video games. Video games is one of the most common mediums of entertainment on the planet now. It is as ubiquitous as movies and TV shows and books. You cannot just say video games and think, oh yes, this is for children. So since many games, even if they are technically family friendly, uh, they have a wide appeal to adults. Like I said, Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster, yeah, technically there's nothing in there that can really offend a child, but they are management simulators, and adults love those games. And I highly doubt most children 12 and under would even be able to comprehend how to play them. It's all contextual. But this just says nope. This is all children, all the way. All right, let's go through some of the other stuff here. More presentation. Whether the website uses visual content appealing to children, animated characters, bold or fast-moving graphics, or bright and vibrant colors. So basically, if your content has any sense of color or joy or excitement to it, that might be potentially appealing to a child. So automatically, it is kid directed. You are directing your content towards children because you are using bright and vibrant colors. If you don't grayscale that immediately, we're going to hit you with a $42,000 fine. Good luck, sucker. Use of host characters, often a character property used offline on television, in movies or comics or books. Again, in movies or comics or books, again, movies, comics, books, this stuff is not inherently children oriented. It depends on the context. It depends on the context, especially in something like comics, you know? Comics have a massive adult audience. In fact, I think at this point I'm pretty sure the majority audience for reading actual comic books is adults. So, yeah, consider that. The age of the models portrayed on the website, using children as models on the website. So I guess you're not allowed to play. So I guess even if they did take away the idea of video games not being inherently children oriented, I guess you're not allowed to play games like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons because they're children, and those are children. So that might somehow appeal to a small child. Again, it's absurd. Even though Brothers is not at all meant, it's not meant for kids. Whether advertising appearing on the website is directed to children under 13. This is just nonsense from 1998 because we have personalized ads now, right? I mean, the ads are all dependent upon you, upon what you look for. Audio content appealing to children. Simple or popular tunes or songs, cartoon voices, childlike noises, and sound effects. Again, this could feasibly incorporate basically anything. Anything that might appeal to a child. You want to play a pop song? Too bad, sucker. That might appeal to a child. Oh, good lord. Whether the website hosts interactive child-oriented activities and incentives, surveys, polls, clubs, prizes, premiums, homework help, contests, games, pen pals, chat rooms, posting winners, homepages, stories or artwork, guest books, downloads, or screensavers, electronic postcards, or e-cards. This is all outdated because this is all from 20 years ago when everyone was making their own personal websites and was building little templates for stuff to use in Angelfire or GeoCities or their little background or profile images in AOL Instant Messenger. This is ridiculous. And then, of course, they have various exceptions. Uh, so, like non-commercial sites, sites that belong to individuals who are using the site simply as a personal website, should be excluded, even if the site is primarily directed to children 12 and under. That's why I am technically safe at the moment. Because the only way they can feasibly enforce this on content creators is if they interpret the use of website in this bill, if they interpret the use of website to mean if they basically mean that each individual content creator counts as their own website and website owner, then in turn someone who is using YouTube and just posting videos and not making any money off of it would count as a non-commercial site, which would include me, which would mean that I would get excluded from this situation because I am not attempting to monetize myself. I do not have a Patreon. I don't make money off of YouTube. I'm not in the ad program. I don't have I'm not a Twitch affiliate or anything. I'm not making money off of this. So technically I'm good, technically, but at the same time this is just utter nonsense, and it basically means I would never be able to make money off this as well. Um, However, sites that contain advertising such as banner ads or that link to commercial sites or show other evidence of commercial intent should be considered commercial. Yeah, again, this is like at that point that's dependent on YouTube because YouTube has generic ads that they shove in your face, and not even that can be that the content creator can't do anything about that. They just can't. Foreign sites are excluded, of course, because they're foreign, they're not in the United States. The FTC can't find someone who's in another country. Let's see. If the site is one devoted to electronic games, one that has game reviews, tips, cheats, game characters, or chat rooms for gamers who play games on any type of computer equipment, and is of interest to children 12 and under. That is absurd. Again, this is basically any video game. This is under the idea that all video games are meant for children, when I have made it very clear at this point that they are not. That is absurd. If the site appears to be of primary interest to teens but of interest to children 12 and under. So essentially what this says is anything that might feasibly appeal to children 12 and under in any conceivable way is inherently kid directed. And if you say it's not kid directed because you are not intentionally making your stuff to be for children, well then the FTC will just fine you $42,000 and you can go shove it. Because remember, this isn't just them suing you for that money. This isn't them suing you for that money. This is a fine. This is a civil penalty. A civil penalty. They don't have to prove anything. It's on you to lawyer up and sue them in return, costing you even more money than the original fine. They have no, they don't suffer any consequences unless you take the initiative and lawyer up against them for the fine. They don't suffer any consequences. They don't have to prove anything. They just have to make a claim and fine you right there, right then and there, which is absurd. Insane. Oh, and yeah, more evidence that this is from the 90s, or this is from 20 years ago. The name they give to the surveyors, the people who go to the websites and determine whether they're children oriented or not, they call them surfers, like web surfers. Yeah, this is this is outdated legislation from 20 years ago that didn't even understand the internet back then, and definitely doesn't understand the internet now. And this cannot go through. Absolutely not. Cannot. The general public of the United States cannot let this happen. This is insane. This is insane. This is giving way too much power to the FTC. This is effectively giving the FTC total control over what is put up on the internet and marketed online. This should not happen. The content creators should have the freedom to make the content they want. We should not be punished. Content creators should not be punished for bad parenting. The onus is on the parents to make sure they know what their kids are watching online instead of just shoving an iPad in their face and just turning on YouTube and letting the algorithm's autoplay feature just play videos in front of the child who just sit there and watch it endlessly while it collects their data and is starting to show them like it, videos created by bots in India designed specifically to cater to the algorithm. That's how they get billions of views and like random comments in the videos because children are just typing on the screen, like smacking their hands on the screen. They have no idea what they're doing. This is all just effectively this is parents attempting to not take responsibility for their own actions. It's their it's their responsibility if their children's finding this content. It's on the parents to ensure that the children aren't watching stuff they don't approve of. It's not it's not on the government, it's not on the corporations to be the parent, to babysit the children. This is ridiculous. This legislation needs to either be, dare I say, straight up repealed or heavily revised for the modern age with as many people as feasibly possible looking over it. Seriously, this is insane. This is effectively saying, any FTC official can find your YouTube channel if you're making any kind of money off of it, if you have a Patreon, if people can subscribe to you on Twitch, if you're in the YouTube ad program, if you make any kind of commercial benefit off of these videos, which I don't, thankfully, but if you do have any kind of commercial benefit off of making content online, if a random FTC official finds your stuff and doesn't like it, well then too bad. You have to pay $42,000 or pay even more to sue them in return because they don't have to prove jack. So yeah, that's the problem here. As I said before in the beginning of this video, I don't think I said this in the beginning. That might have been on a different take. Anyway, either way, do not let this video die. Do not let any other video discussing this die. Do not. Do everything you can to get the algorithm to push this stuff, right? From likes to comments to, I think even subscriptions can actually count towards engagement because it's technically saying, oh, this video got the person to subscribe, blah, blah, blah. We'll push it to more people, blah, blah, blah. Do that. Share it on social media. Use the share feature everywhere. That'll feed the algorithm even further. Watch time. If you watch the whole video up to this point, the combined watch time of people will absolutely get the engagement up as well. We need this kind of stuff to spread around. We need the word of this stuff to spread around. And I will be linking to all of this in my description, by the way, and likely in a pinned comment on the video. But here's something else you can do other than spreading the word of this video. You can go to this website. Again, I'll have it linked. Regulations.gov. They are currently taking public comment on the FTC's ruling for this. They're currently taking public comment, and the whole idea is that they read every single comment you make. They have to. That's the whole point. They have to read what the public has to say about this. Go and make your grievances known with this. Let them know that this is an absurd piece of legislation that they should not be enforcing. Right? Let them know. And actually use your name, please, so that they don't just try to call you bots. Actually use your name. At least I would. I would personally. That's my thing. And also, sign this petition. This petition here to say family-friendly content on YouTube. This one, while it does not have the same reasoning for it that I do, it does have an interesting reasoning for what it's doing. Essentially, what their problem is that this will throttle family-friendly content on YouTube. This will hurt family-friendly content in the long run. Because essentially, if you do mark your stuff as for children, then, well, yeah, if you do mark it as for children, you lose about 90% of your ad revenue because you're not allowed to use personalized ads. And in turn, the idea of making family-friendly content will become unprofitable on YouTube, and therefore there will be significantly less of it. And as they say, more mature content will grow, family-friendly content will shrink, but kids will still be watching. So, because, the problem is the parents letting the kids watch this stuff. Um, so yeah, go sign this petition, make a comment on here, spread the video around, spread these videos around. I'll link this as well. Uh, do not let this die off. Absolutely spread it around. Let the FTC know that this is wrong, that this is deadly wrong on a terrible way on how to handle the internet, a disconnected, wrong way on how to handle the way the online marketplace works. The FTC should not be sticking its fingers into every single person's individual content and determining who can and cannot survive, who will and will not get get a $42,000 fine shoved on them because they do not directly target children with their videos, but some rando at the FTC thinks they do, thinks they're lying because that's the thing they call it, kid directed. It's like that's that implies intent. That implies intent. Like, oh, you're claiming it's not meant for that, but you're using colorful characters and whatnot. Like, an example, a YouTuber that I love to watch, Tom Fox. Tom Fox. He pretty much almost exclusively plays Nintendo games. But but he's very much immature. He's like a Let's Player. He plays like pretty much all Nintendo games. But the kind of jokes and whatnot he makes are very mature. He makes very mature jokes all the time. It is absolutely not meant for kids 12 and under, but no one in the FTC is going to care about that because it's got Mario on it. That means it's for kids, right? That's the problem with this. It is so broad and vague, it can effectively encompass the entire internet and give the FTC, not the FCC, the FTC total control. Yeah. And again, they can just fine you for it. No lawsuit. They don't have to prove jack. They can just slap you with the fine, walk off. And you have to just suck it up because no one has the kind of money to just sue the FTC. So yeah, spread this video around. Go do that, alright? Alright, I'm out.